So these are not the problems that you have in the review, but these are similar to the ones. So I'm going to do these and show you how to do these, and then you should be able to, then I'll give you the answers to the other problems. So, what you always need to do is first read the problem. First one says, a nursery plants a new tree and attaches a guide wire to the help support the tree while its roots take hold. An 8-foot wire is attached to the tree and to a stake in the ground. From the stake in the ground, the angle of elevation of the connection with the tree is 42 degrees. Find the nearest tenth of a foot, the height of the connection point on the tree to the ground. So, what you're going to first do is you're going to first see that it says angle of elevation. Okay? Angle of elevation, angle of depression actually are the same angle. I've been teaching you guys that they're two separate angles, but we could just draw one type of triangle and still be able to figure this out. So, it says a nursery plants a new tree. Alright, so it says an 8-foot wire is attached to the tree. Well, if you think of the tree as this little standing thing up right here, this would be the wire. So this would be 8 right here. Now, where this wire connects to the tree down is what we're trying to look for. We know that it's going to be right here. This little thing right here should be your right angle. Okay? The diagonal should always be across from the right angle. So the angle of elevation is always going to be right here. So I'm going to put 42 degrees right here. Now, what we do from here is we first look at what two sides are given and what sides are we trying to find. This x right here is the opposite side. This side right here is the hypotenuse. Okay? So since we know the opposite side, we know the hypotenuse, what we're going to do is we're going to figure out which one of our three trig ratios are we actually using. Well, opposite and hypotenuse is sine, because remember, sine is opposite of our hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. Okay? So those are our three different things. So what we're going to do now is we know that opposite of our hypotenuse is sine, so we're going to take the sine of the angle. The angle here is 42 degrees. We're going to set it equal to sine. Sine is opposite of our hypotenuse, so we're going to take opposite, which is x, and put it over the hypotenuse, which is 8. From this point, what we're going to do is we're going to solve. So we need to get x by itself. Well, it's being divided by 8 right here, so we can actually multiply by 8 on both sides. What happens is this crosses out with this. And if I multiply this side, we get that. So x will give us whatever 8 times the sine of 42 is. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up our calculators. And we're going to look at this. So we're going to take 8 times the sine of 42. And we're going to get the answer is 5.4. Because we're rounding to the nearest tenth. So 5.4 is the answer. Okay? If we move to the next problem, same idea. From the top of a fire tower, a forest ranger sees his partner on the ground at an angle of depression of 40 degrees. If the tower is 45 feet tall, how far is the partner from the base of the tower to the nearest tenth of a foot? So once again, it talks about an angle of depression. So angle of depression, angle of elevation, we're going to draw the same triangle. We're going to draw this. Height is always measured up and down, so we know that this is going to be the height of the tower. We know that the angle of depression is 40 degrees. And finally, it's asking the distance from the tower is his partner. So you have a little guy up here who's looking down at his partner who's right here. Okay. So from here, what we're going to do, we're going to determine what is this side and what is this side. Well, this is opposite, this is adjacent. Opposite over adjacent is what we're trying to find out. So this becomes the opposite over adjacent, which is tan. It's going to be tangent of the degree equals 45 over x. Okay? So, what I'm going to do next is I'm sorry, this should be 40 right here, my bad. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to get this x by itself. But this is a little tricky because it's being divided by. Okay? So what we're going to do, it's not like this one up here where the x is on top, it's on the bottom now. So what we're going to do is first multiply by x on both sides. Okay? That crosses out this x and leaves you with 45. So we know x times the tangent of 40 should give us 45. Okay? Now our next step is to get x by itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide out tangent. Because tangent of 40 is actually a number, so we can deal with it like it's a number. So we're going to divide by the tangent of 40 from both sides. So you get x equals whatever 45 divided by the tangent of 40. Which it gives us, so what we did was we took 45 divided by the tangent of 40 gave us 53.6. So we're going to put 53.6 that's going to be feet. Alright, I'm going to skip this one because I want to deal with one that does not have a degree. For example, this one up top. A ladder leans against a brick wall. The foot of the ladder is 6 feet from the wall. The ladder reaches a height of 15 feet on the wall. Find to the nearest degree the angle the ladder makes with the wall. Okay, so we're going to draw our little triangle again. This time we don't have an angle of depression, we don't have an angle of elevation, nothing like that. We just have to go based off of what we know. It says the foot of a ladder is 6 feet from the wall. So if this is the foot of the ladder and this is the wall, we know that this space in between would have to be the 6. The ladder reaches a height of 15 feet. That means that the ladder isn't 15 feet long. It reaches this point right here, from the ground to this point right here is 15. So when we talk about height, we always mean that side. And then finally it's asking for the angle that the ladder makes with the wall. So since the ladder's here, the wall is here, that means this angle right here. So at this point, we need to figure out what this is, which is opposite, and what this is, which is adjacent. We know this is opposite, we know this is adjacent. So what we can do from there is look at it like this. Opposite and adjacent is tan. So we know the tangent of tangent of x, which we don't know the angle yet, equals 6 over 15. 6 over 15 is what we're trying to figure out the angle for. Now, to get rid of this tangent, what we have to do is we actually have to do something called the inverse of tangent. Okay? So we have to multiply both sides by the tangent of -1. So I multiplied both sides by the tangent of -1. Now what this does to tangent is it cancels out, just like multiplication cancels out division, adding cancels out subtraction, so on and so forth. What our next step is now we have x by itself. And since we're trying to find an angle, we use that -1 thing. So what we have to do is go into our calculator, find where tangent's at. So tangent's right here. We press second tangent, and then we put in the 6/15, 6 divided by 15. And this will give us a degree, which is 22 degrees, because we have to round to the nearest tenth. That'd be 22 degrees. Okay, so that's how you work the word problems. Now, I'm going to go over the answers to these word problems. Okay? So, the first word problem says the man goes down the slide, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to do this really quickly. So your answer should look like something like this. So you're doing an angle of elevation. It's going to be 55 degrees. The slide is 10 feet tall. You're trying to find this. So what you end up with is you should have the sine, you should have 10 divided by the sine of 55. Okay? Whatever, so 10 divided by the sine of 55. Should be 12.2. This one right here, the original route the train would take would be up the hill. So this is 100. It's trying to figure out how far it needs to drill in. So it's going to be x is right there. And it's going to be 39 degrees right here. This will be adjacent over, so it'll be cosine of 39 equals x over 100. So from there you should figure out this should end up being 100 times cosine of 39, which equals 77 or 78 if you round. This one right here, man sets up a ladder against a tree, so that should be 12, this should be 10, this should be x. You know this is going to be sine of x, 10 over 12. Figure this out, you just do sine -1 of 10 over 12. So that would be sine -1 would be 10 divided by 12, would end up with 56 degrees. This one looks like this. So that'd be 300 feet away from a 400-foot building. This is x, this is where Batman's at. You then know you're going to use tangent of -1 of 300 over 400. And you get 37 degrees. All right. These last two were not trig problems. They were ratio problems. So you would have to look at this one. It says, man is trying to figure out how tall his house is. He knows it casts a shadow of 15 feet. And he casts a shadow of 8 feet. If the man is 5 feet tall, how tall is his house? If this man is 5 feet tall, he creates an 8-foot shadow. His house is what we're trying to figure out, but it casts a 15-foot shadow. Okay? So this is a ratio of x to 5 as 15 is to 8. So x over 5 equals 15 over 8. You cross multiply, you get 8x equals 8x equals, is that 75? You divide by 8, you divide by 8, you get 75 divided by 8, which is 9.375. This one is, you know a meter stick's shadow. So you know this is 1 meter because it's called a meter stick. It is a 1.8 meter shadow. She is 1.75 meters tall. Let's figure out her shadow. So this would be 1 over 1.75 equals 1.8 over x. You cross multiply. And you get 3.5. And that's how you would solve those problems.